everybody. Thanks for coming back to Storytime with me, Mrs. Bailey. I am so excited that you decided to come back and learn with me. Today we are going to be learning all about the next letter on our AlphaTale journey, which is the letter W here. Parents, if this is your first time joining in one of my videos, I started this AlphaTales journey back in like March when the pandemic began. I wanted a way to share stories with my students. I ordered this AlphaTales set from Amazon, and it's 26 books. It comes with a teaching guide, and it's funny stories, humorous stories to show students, help them recognize letters and the sounds that they make. It says, lay the foundation for reading success with these kid-pleasing books, one for each letter of the alphabet. I also made my version of the letters using pipe cleaners, and I talked about it in my other videos. I use hot glue, I use pipe cleaners, and just regular board from Michael's, or if you have any scraps laying around. And I use it as a sensory tool. I used it with my students, I used it with my children, so that they can actually feel the letters. So before we get started, let's think about the sound that this W makes. W, it says ooh, ooh, ooh. A lot of times children might say wah, wah, wah. That is not the correct sound for the W. It's ooh, ooh, ooh. So think about some words. What about water or watermelon? What about window? Window's a good one. This morning, I got out of my bed, I looked out of my window, and there was snow everywhere. I don't know where you are. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, but when I got up this morning and I looked out my window, there was snow everywhere, and it was very cold when I went outside. So W says woo, woo. It does not say wah, wah. No, it doesn't. All right, so I hope you have something to write on, something to write with. If not, go ahead and grab it really quick. Parents, a lot of times students get confused. They'll see a W and they think it's an M, when in fact it's a W. I used to tell my students, when you see a W, the sticks are like this. M, the sticks are like this. But a lot of children see it as like a mirror image. It's like, okay, a B is a P or a D is a Q. A lot of times they get confused, and like I said, it looks like a mirror to them. Think about this. Here's a coffee mug, and I have the mug with the handle here. I'm gonna turn it, and the handle is here, but it's still a mug, right? That's how a lot of the children see letters. They see this M, and they see this W, and they say, it's still the same letter. All it is turned around, when in fact it's not. And it is completely fine, it's completely normal, it's common for them to confuse those letters that look the same. Like I said, B and P, D and Q, M and W. Sometimes they even confuse V with Y. So it's very common, it's okay, they grow out of it, I promise. But all you have to do is just correct them. Your W looks like this, your M looks like this. And that's just like a visual for them to just remember it. So hopefully you have something to write with, something to write on right now, because we are going to make this letter together. So I'm going to start at the top, and remember, my sticks are going to look like this for the W. I'm going to go down, up, down, up. And you notice I did not pick my marker up this entire time. I kept my marker, just did like that. Luckily, the lowercase w looks just the same, it's just smaller. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to go down, up, down, up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 steps for the letter W. All right, so the book that I have to share with you today is called Worm's Wagon. Worm's Wagon. And those are 2 more words that start with the W. Worm's Wagon. And it's by Samantha Berger. She's the author, so that means she wrote the words. And illustrated by Matt Phillips. He's the one that drew the pictures for Worm's Wagon. It says, one day, Worm went to the woods to gather walnuts. He brought his wagon with him. On his way home, Worm saw Woodpecker. A woodpecker is a type of bird, whistling in a weeping willow. A weeping willow is a type of tree. Woodpecker asked Worm for a ride. Here's one of those speech bubbles that we talked about before, and it says, "Wow, what a wagon." That's what Woodpecker said. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker in his wagon. Soon they came upon Weasel eating watermelon. Weasel asked Worm for a ride. There's the speech bubble. It says, "Wow, what a wagon." Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker and Weasel in his wagon. Before long, they bumped into Wombat wearing her new wig. Wombat asked Worm for a ride. Can you guess what the speech bubble says? Wow, what a wagon. So here's Worm carrying walnuts, a weasel eating a watermelon, a woodpecker, and now Wombat wants a ride. Do you think he's gonna have room for Wombat? Let's see. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel eating the watermelon, and Wombat in his wagon along with the walnuts. Next, they met Wolf on his way to work. Can you guess what Wolf asked Worm? Wolf asked Worm for a ride. There's that speech bubble again, and it says, "Wow, what a wagon." Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, he doesn't have his watermelon anymore, Wombat, and Wolf in his wagon, along with the walnuts. Soon they saw Walrus winking and waving. Walrus asked Worm for a ride. What did Walrus say? "Wow, what a wagon." Do you think Worm is gonna have room for the walrus? Look at his face here. He looks a little worried. I can imagine a worm wiggling along carrying all of that stuff in his wagon. Oh my goodness. Looky here. Look at Worm's face. I don't think he's going to be able to handle it. Worm wiggled along, pulling Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, Wolf, and Walrus, and the walnuts in his wagon. Up ahead, they saw Whale playing in the water. Whale asked Worm for a ride. Do you think Worm is going to be able to pull an entire whale along with Weasel, Wombat, Woodpecker, Wolf, and Walrus, and the walnuts? What do you think is going to happen? And here's Whale saying, "Wow, what a wagon." What do you think is going to happen? Let's make some predictions. Oh, look at Worm's face. Worm is stressing out right now. He's sweating and everything. Worm wiggled all with his might, trying to pull Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, Wolf, Walrus, and Whale, and the walnuts. But the wagon would not move. The wheels started to wobble. What do you think's gonna happen? The wheels are wobbling. Let's see. Wham! Oh no, look at that picture. What happened? Wham! The weight was too much for the wagon. It crashed to the ground. Oh no! My wagon! Worm wailed. Oh, look at Worm. He's crying. He tried to pull Woodpecker, Weasel, Wombat, Wolf, Walrus, and Whale, and the walnuts. And and his wagon crashed to the ground. Don't worry, Worm, the animal said. Worm's friend worked on the wagon all afternoon. It looks like they're helping him put the wagon back together. That was kind. When the wagon was fixed, Worm wiggled into it. Look what's happening. Then Wombat, Weasel, Wolf, Woodpecker, Walrus, and Whale pulled Worm all the way home, and weary Worm had a wonderful time. I'll show you the whole picture. So they repaired the wagon for Worm, and they ended up pulling him. Let's see. It's time for our AlphaTales I Spy. We heard so many words that said ooh, ooh in this story. I wonder if you can find all of the words that make that sound. I'll show it to you. I wonder what you find. Let's see. I see worm, woodpecker. Did you find wolf? There's wolf. Blowing a whistle. There's another one. Oh, and here's that window with walnuts. And there's the wagon and the whale. Can you find anything else that makes that sound? That says ooh. Remember, the W says ooh, not what. It says ooh. All right, let's hear our cheer. Here it is. Parents, hopefully you join along with us. It says W is for worm and wagon to pull. W is for wig, whale, wave, and wool. W is for watermelon, juicy and sweet. W is for walnuts, waffles, and wheat. Hooray for W, big and small, the wildest, wackiest letter of all. We learned so many words. There were so many W's in there. But now it is time for us to figure out what picture we're gonna add to our chart here today. So I'm gonna show you what I have. I have a watermelon. Do you think it's watermelon? Did your mouth say ooh when you said watermelon? Let's think about it. What about a yo-yo? Did your mouth say ooh when you said yo-yo? No. Okay. What about a zebra? Did your mouth say ooh when you said zebra? No? Okay. Watermelon. We were right the first time. Watermelon. So let's go ahead and add that to our chart. And we are done for the day. We made the letter. We know tons of words now that make that sound W. We heard that wacky story about Worm's wagon. Now there's nothing else for us to do. I hope you come back next time so we can learn all about the letter X here and hear a story, make the letters together and everything. But until then, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.